Hey, my name's Rick, and I'm going to show you a template we have, an agent template that you can use. We built it for the React Miami conference. That's where we're launching our public preview. And so we open source this set of agents, straightforward kind of concierge type of set of agents, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun. So I'm going to dive into this and just give you a walkthrough of this. There's a lot of templates we have, and there's more coming, and there's a bunch of examples. But this is one that specifically for Miami we built, and it's a lot of fun. So I'm going to jump into the project. You can, of course, deploy this yourself. You can clone the GitHub repo here, which is Agent React Miami Concierge template. Clone it, and you can run agent2d deploy, and it'll wrap it up and deploy it. And this project, this GitHub repo, has several agents. It has the concierge host, which is the orchestrator. It sits in the middle and takes a user request in. It's the thing that deals with the user, and then passing it off to the different ones, different agents, depending on what's needed. So there's the conference expert that knows everything about the React Miami conference, the tracks, the knowledge of the speakers, the schedule, that kind of thing. Then there's the Miami local guide, which will go out and any information you need about Miami. Well, we're going to get some good Cuban coffee or whatever, or a good cafe. It'll do that. And then the developer experience agent will handle anything Agenttuity related. So you can interact with it and ask it about Agenttuity, how to install the CLI, that kind of thing, and it'll do that as well. Once you install it, you can run Agenttuity. Let me just demo how this works, and then I'll show you the code here in a minute. So I'm going to run Agenttuity dev. That's running it locally here. And you'll see locally, we know we've got these agents that are running. I can interact with my main agent, which is the concierge host, using curl, or I can hit this URL to open up dev mode. So dev mode is a way to interact with the agents that you're building locally without deploying them yet. So in this case, you'll see on the left, there's this canvas where I can interact with the agent. And on the right is the response from the agent or agents. I can actually pick a specific agent to interact with as well. Even though the concierge host will take my request, how I built it, and it'll pass it off to these, I can go directly to one of those agents as well, just directly. In the case of this set of agents, it takes text in and it spits text out, but you can change the content type here. So some agents, we have some agents internally that they take both text and JSON. And so depending on the format, the content type that comes in, we handle it a certain way. But in this case, it's text. So I can say things like, how do I install the CLI? And then hit run. And so that'll create what we call a session in Agenttuity. It's a new session, and it's going to hit, in this case, you'll see over here on the logs, it'll hit our main agent, and then it said agent selected developer experience. So it knew, oh, you're asking about the CLI. Let me go pass this off to the agent that handles the dev stuff. And that's what it is. So then you get, here's the response I get back from the agent. So it went and it knows everything about Agenttuity. So it's yeah, here's how you install it. If you're on Linux or Windows, you got to go to the release page and then put it your path and that kind of stuff. Pretty cool, right? And then once that's done, you'll see here, there it is. It took about 6 seconds for that to run end to end. And if you click on it, you can get tracing. This is hotel type tracing. So there's your 16 spans total, took 6.4 seconds. And then you can go, you can see it's, oh, we're calling to a key value database. Oh, this is where we're calling into, in this case, we're using the Vercel AI SDK. So it knows that. Then it'll show you the AI prompt, the response. And in this case, because we're using a schema, it'll show you the schema. It's kind of cool. And then it'll say, oh, this one, I think this is where we're handing off to the other agent. Yeah, we are, because this is the developer experience one. And then you can just start drilling into each one of these things. So as you can see there. All right, so that's sessions, logs. There you can see all the logs, which you can see some of them over here as well. That's dev mode in a nutshell. Now let's talk about the code. So let me open up the code here, and I just walk you through some of the conventions. So when you create a project in Agenttuity, it's important to understand we don't care what framework you use. If you are coming to us from the Python community and you want to create a Python project in Agenttuity and use Crew AI or LangChain, you can totally do that. You can bring it with you. If you're in the JavaScript community, you can come in like this In this case, this is Bun with the Vercel AI SDK. That's what I'm using. But if you're using Mastra or you're using some other frameworks, you can use those inside of here. And I'll show you how that works here in a minute. But for an Agent2D project, there's a couple conventions you have to follow. The YAML file, Agent2D YAML, is the configuration for your project. So that'll have things like the agent ID and some of the resources that you can allocate. The agents folder is where your agents will go. So that is the convention you have to follow. And let me open up the host. So when I ask about how to install the CLI, you'll see here, this is an agent that we have. This is the host, the orchestrator. And a really important thing to understand about Agenttuity is here, let me just blow this up. Hopefully this is big enough on everybody's screen. Is we give you a handler that is the entry point for your agent. And that's what this looks like, the signature here with request, response, context. And that might look familiar if you're coming from Express, a Node Express, or some other similar things like that, or even Next with the request objects and stuff. It's very similar, request, response, context. And so in there, we have certain things that you can access, certain features. And so that comes all the way through the network to your agent, and it comes in this signature. So the only thing you really need to know about it is that's how the data gets to it. And then you handle it through these three arguments, which is good. Then you don't have to stitch a bunch of stuff together. It just happens for you. So I'm just going to do a code walkthrough of this to help better explain it. And then hopefully that'll enable you to build your own agent. So on the request object, there's data, and data here, actually, let me just show you. Request dot data is an object. And that's where, as things are coming into your agent, you can say, hey, or you can check on the content type. What is the content type? Oh, it's JSON, handle it this way. Oh, it's text, handle it this way. Oh, it's a stream, handle it this way. It's a binary. It's somebody's trying to upload a PDF, handle it this way. So you can, as the data comes in, you can actually handle this in multiple different ways. Now, in this case of this agent, we're only handling plain text. So you can see here, if it's not text plain, we're like, hey, it has to be text plain. So don't do anything if it's not text plain. You'll see response text, and we're just responding with text. Hey, you got to send us in plain text. It doesn't work otherwise. Then this is request.data.text. So that's the text plain content type. We're pulling it out, and we're tracking the conversation. And we use this and we store this in key values. You'll notice what we'll do is we'll get the past conversation from key value. So what we're doing is we're saying, hey, every time this runs, get the past conversations so we know what the user likes and cares about when he asks what that person's asked about in the past. And so the interesting thing to point out is you'll notice this is context. That's that third argument there, context. There's a bunch of things you can do with this. You can hand off things to another agent. You can call another agent, but also has a logger and a couple other and other important things. But anyway, key value is one of the things you get. So you don't have to set up a key value store or anything. It just is on the object and it's ready to go. And that's what you see here. I'm just getting this object out of the store and then using it. And then we're just using it for memory for the agent. In this case, again, we're using the Vercel AI SDK. So the first thing is we need to determine the user's intent. What is the user trying to do? So we're using multiple models in this project, by the way. So in this case, we're using Anthropic Claude 3.7. And also I'll call out that I don't have any of these keys locally in this project. We have an AI gateway that sits in between. So if you don't want to set up all that stuff ahead of time, you can just use our AI gateway and just swap the models out and it'll just work. Now, if you want to use your own keys, that's fine too. Of course you can. But what's nice is if you're prototyping and you're trying different models, you can just swap it out and it'll just work without you having to do anything. Anyway, so we'll get the user's intent out of this based on this schema, which if I click into that's in the types thing, so you'll see here where we care about, is it about Miami? Is it about the conference, or is it about Agenttuity? And then that depends on which agent we pass this off to. So it's important. And then we tag it, the likely intent. This negative intent actually is something I learned from watching the reasoning models work. Negative intent is the opposite of what the user cares about. So it's actually pretty effective when you handle negative intent. You make sure that you're not doing the negative intent. All right, so let's go back. So what's going to happen here, because this is Vercel AI SDK with the schema, it's going to spit out the user intent in that data shape. And then after we have that, we have the agent type. So the LLM is going to spit back, hey, and like I just asked, how do you install the CLI? So it knows, hey, this is about the dev experience, it's about Agentuity. And then it's going to build the message and it's going to pass it off to, in that case, it was this developer experience agent here. So that's what it's doing here. It's passing it off there. And then once that agent's done, it gets it back in this function. We save the history of that conversation in that key value store, and then we just return it to whoever called it. So in this case, it would be this dev mode. It returned it here. So that's that. Yeah, kill this server here because I'm going to show you a couple other things here in a minute. Let's see here. That's the host. So let's go dive into these others. So the user intent, let's say the user intent was the developer experience or the Agentuity stuff. So that same thing takes in text just like this. And then we have, what I did was I saved our llms.txt from our docs website. If you don't know what llms.txt is, it's a way for LLMs to look and see everything about your website and what's important. So we have everything about our docs, SDKs, CLI, everything, all in that file. So I have this in the project, so you can open it up and look at it. So anyway, it's going to open that up. It's going to load it into memory, and then it's going to say, hey, you're a developer evangelist that knows everything about Agentuity. Answer the user's question. And we'll drop the prompt in there. We'll drop everything about the docs in there. And then it's going to churn through there. And it's like, my question, what's the CLI all about? And then it's going to spit it out. Oh, here you go. This is what it is. And that all came from this LLM call. So that's the developer experience one. So then let's go here. What else we got here? So you notice we've got Miami, everything about Miami. So if I open the Miami agent, same thing. It only takes text. We're using Perplexity Sonar Pro. And again, you don't have to sign up for this. We handle it for you. So if you just want to try Perplexity with Sonar Pro, you can. You totally can without creating keys or anything because we use our AI gateway with that. So I'm using Perplexity Sonar Pro because it can go out to the internet. It can search things. It does a really good job with that. Some of the other models do that as well, but Perplexity is great for this. And you can see the system prompt here. And we pass it in there. We also give this specific agent a tool, a weather tool. So if you ask it about what's the temperature in Miami or what's the weather like today, it'll actually go out and call that as well. And then once it's done, same thing. It'll return it. Hey, here's the answer and done. And then the last agent we have that the concierge host calls is the conference expert. And it's pretty much the same pattern, text only. We have everything about the conference in an LMS text file, just like that. We're using Claude 3 for this one. And same thing, there's a prompt with here's the conference information. This is what the person's asking for, and then it just returns it. So it's really that simple. It's really not complicated at all to build it. And maybe just for that weather tool, you can jump in there and look at it, but it's a really simple weather tool call. We're using the weather.gov to get the information because you don't need an API key for it. It's free. It's free. Taxpayers pay for it. And it's a really simple one to use. So you can try that out and you'll see it works without having to set up any other accounts. So it's that simple. And then once you deploy it, let me just go to projects and I'll show you what that looks like. So when you deploy it, here's the concierge thing. Here's everything. This is in production. So you can see I deployed this 2 days ago. And there's all of my agents. And you can see what all of them have cost over time. The developer experience one's the most expensive one, as you can tell, because I probably use it the most. But if you click into it, you can get more information about it. You can get sessions. There's a pending session. You can click on this to get the webhook information, and then you can call it via webhook URL. You can add a cron job and you can call it every once in a while. You can have it send off to something else. Of course, you can do all this in your code as well, but this is a way to decouple it from your code if you want to, this input and output. And that's basically the overview of this agent. So would love to hear your thoughts and feel free to fork it and change it to do whatever you want. Thanks.